I don't I don't get a break by running out of state. It was funny. That's funny that I knew you were going to ask me about that. And when I was coming home this morning, I was on the phone with my wife, and I'm running through Madera, and I come right through the pilot truck stop there at Avenue 18 and a half on 99 there, and I went holy bleep, and I looked up, and it was 714.
uh,
So we broke the $7 a gallon
you broke
mark.
the barrier. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Yep, you heard that right. Fuel prices out west, and at least in Madera, California, at the pilot there, broke the sound barrier, so to speak, this week, crossing the $7 per gallon threshold. An eventuality that Merced area-based small fleet owner CG Soza and I had just talked about a few days before the conversation you heard just a small piece of there at the top. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this edition of the Overdrive Radio podcast for June the 10th, 2022, where we're going to hear a lot more from Soza about where his thinking is around his home state's contractor law, AB 5, and how it stands to potentially upend the contract relationship he has with an owner-operator running under his authority. Likewise, Soza is the proprietor of the A.J. Soza Memorial Truck Show happening in just a couple weeks in Merced, starting a day after the Supreme Court is set to conference and potentially decide whether it will in fact take up the California Trucking Association's appeal of the Ninth Circuit Court's 2021 decision upholding the AB 5 contractor law. If the Supreme Court doesn't take it up, that day could be quite eventful for Soza, scads of other small fleet owners and leased owner operators out west, no doubt. As if they and CC Soza's car hauling small fleet didn't already have enough to contend with when it comes to business difficulties.
it's tough. I mean, I don't know where it's going to finally end, when it's going to finally break. I mean, somewhere it's got to break. I mean, realistically, it at $6.50 to $7 a gallon, it's pretty much costing every truck out there $1 a mile to run just for diesel.
$1 plus in some cases, yeah.
Yeah, in some cases $1 plus, and it's like, you have to take that into account. I mean, you figure you do a 300 mile run. I mean, you take $300 right off the top of that right now. So it's it's harsh. And I keep inching my rates up little by little. My customers have been pretty susceptible to it. They're like, we understand, we get that. This second round, now that we're high sixes, I've gotten a lot more pushback basically. And I'm like, it's out of my control, and I think it's not so much they don't understand, but I think they're just as much upset about it as we all are. So but yeah, I mean, the trucking industry is going to, if you're hauling cheap freight, you're basically digging your own grave. There's no room for that anymore. And we're going to have, probably a lot of guys, unfortunately, go out of business, and it's going to be a major hurt. And then when things do break loose, then we're going to be even more of a truck driving shortage. And, the guys who do make it through it, they're not going to be able to keep up. It'll be kind of a feast or famine, and it's going to be a big feast at that point. And, we're still going to have product issues getting through to everybody. And, the supply chain, you think is bad now, it'll be even worse come when that time comes. So we're just riding it out. I mean, that's what I've told my guys, because they've asked me, what are we going to do? I'm like, we're just going to keep riding it out. I mean, it's the point to where if we can't make money, we might as well park them. But, that's not going to do anybody any good either. So we're in a tough spot. Everybody's in a tough spot right now, not just little guys, but big guys. I mean, it's going to be real interesting what happens here in the next 6 months, and I think it's going to come sooner than later. I know people are saying it might be, a year, but I'm thinking it's going to be a lot sooner than later, especially since I've already seen $7.14 a gallon for fuel here. We're here. It's happening now. So getting through the summer will be real interesting. We'll have to keep our fingers crossed and see what happens.
As Soza suggested, the strong should survive, but the pressure $7 diesel puts on the entirety of the national economy is such that, minus some relief, things could get hairy all around. Time will tell. Stay tuned for more from Soza here shortly. Before we get there, though, Overdrive's own news editor Matt Cole has been out in Branson, Missouri since yesterday at the Shell Rotella Super Rigs event. Catch some scenes from it, with owner-operators showcasing some of the best in custom working rigs on the show's first day now at overdriveonline.com. The event this year moved off its well-trod path a bit, away from its traditional truck stop venue as it travels annually to a different area of the nation. Here's Matt Cole laying out the scene yesterday when he arrived.
So it is right as you come into Branson. It's at the city landing, right on the White River. So there's a beautiful backdrop of the river and cliffs on the other side of the river there. So it's a really awesome scene. I was out there briefly this afternoon, and it looks like there's probably 50-ish trucks, give or take a few. But the quality of truck that's out there is definitely way up there this year. You can tell that the owners really went above and beyond this year. 'Cause I think it might have to do, Branson's such a tourist town, and where the trucks are set up, it's right there. There's a big Bass Pro Shops that's like right next to where the trucks are set up, and it's right as you're driving into town. And so they're very visible to all the people walking around, and there'll probably be a lot more foot traffic this year than there has been at previous Super Rigs. So that should be pretty cool.
I wonder if that limits participation at all, given it's not at a truck stop as it usually is. I wonder if that's one of the reasons that maybe the number of truck owners seems smaller than maybe sometimes it does early in the Super Rigs event.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It kind of seems like the parking capacity where they have them set up is smaller than what you would get at a truck stop. So
it's an absolutely beautiful sight for a show, though. There's pictures you can see at overdriveonline.com. Is this the first time you ever been to Branson, or have you been there before?
It is, yeah. It's first time. Seems like a cool little spot, though. I mean, there's a ton going on, a lot of foot traffic all over the place, but seems like plenty of restaurants and bars and shops and the whole run.
It's kind of like little Nashville. I feel like I've heard people describe it that way anyways.
I've heard Nashville. I've heard it like Vegas of the Midwest.
Cool.
But seems pretty cool, especially right down there on the river where the trucks are set up. It's just some cool visuals for sure. I talked to a few folks today. I'll be really talking a lot more to the owners tomorrow, doing more in-depth interviews. But there's a ton of great looking trucks out there, and there's plenty of stuff to do other than the truck show as well. So if you're not too far out, it'd be a great opportunity to come and see some great trucks, and then spend some time in downtown Branson.
If you make it along US 65 Super Rigs, watch for Matt Cole and introduce yourself. I know he'll appreciate it. I wanted to talk to Cole too about the AB5 contractor law and the pending possible Supreme Court case. Nobody's been following the steps along the way toward the High Court possibly taking up the California Trucking Association's ongoing challenge to the law more closely than him. I referenced my talk with C.G. Soza, whose current relationship with one leased owner-operator at the small car haul fleet is put in jeopardy by the contractor law, if allowed to apply to trucking. Headquartered in California's Central Valley, Soza and we were talking just about the kind of contingency planning or lack thereof that is going on all around the state with regard to whether or not AB5 is going to be allowed to go into effect and apply to trucking in California. And, that affects operations outside of California as well to a certain degree. And a lot of big fleets have already sort of made the pivot and sort of stopped leasing guys in California. It's almost like they feel like they see the writing on the wall here. But we've had a couple of recent developments in that case over the last several weeks. Solicitor General, as requested by the Supreme Court, representing the U.S. government, the Solicitor General says, we don't think that you guys need to review this case. We think the Ninth Circuit is right, and AB5 should apply to trucking. And it's not that, and they even go as far as to say, it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to be that big of a deal. They filed, California Trucking Association filed their brief in response to the Solicitor General's opinion. And what did they say? And how interesting was it to see some of our own overdrive reporting mentioned in a brief before the Supreme Court met?
Well, it's definitely great to see, Overdrive's hard work be represented in something filed at the Supreme Court. But CTA basically just took apart the Solicitor General's brief point by point. The Solicitor General tried to say that, like you were talking about, that essentially that AB5 wouldn't have that big of an impact on carriers and owner operators in California. And anybody who's followed this case or this law at all knows that's not the case. So CTA basically laid out the facts, at least according to their their opinion and their thoughts on what's been going on. And it sounds like we should hear in the next couple of weeks what the Supreme Court decides to do, whether they are going to hear the appeal or not.
Are we sure it's going to be that soon, though? I know there's been some differing opinions on that.
Yeah, if they decide to hear it, they won't hear it until probably October or later.
Okay.
But the decision to hear it could be made before the end of this month.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court docket for the case, they updated it this week and said that it's been distributed for conference of June 23rd. So that's 2 weeks from today. So that'll mean that on June 23rd, they should issue in their orders whether or not they'll take the case. I believe that's the last day that they are in session until October.
Okay. Guess where I'm going to be going on the 23rd?
Where are you going on the 23rd?
California. As you'll hear a little later, I've had plans in place for months now to be on hand in Merced for the A.J. Soza Memorial Truck Show, where it's sure AB5 will be on the minds of truck owners to some degree. I doubt, though, whatever news we might receive that day will dampen festivities at a show that's shaping up to be a big one, and it's just its second year.
The Solicitor General more or less was like, well, owner-operators will just become employees.
As if that's like that. As if it's
the same thing, or
no different.
Right. And obviously, if you're an owner operator, there's more that you want out of trucking than just being a company driver. So it's a silly argument that you can just go be a company driver. They also they talked about, I believe it's commonly known as the 2-check system. You could be a company driver but own your own truck. Bring your own truck to the agreement.
Yeah.
And CTA basically said that wouldn't work either, because once the equipment gets aged out, especially, they didn't say this, but especially given California's strict emissions requirements, once those trucks start to get older, you can't reasonably expect an employee to buy a new $200,000+ truck. It seems to me like, if you're considered an employee, but you just have your own truck and you have to replace that truck, is there enough incentive there to go out and buy a brand new truck?
Yeah, on behalf of your employer, right?
Right, on behalf of your employer.
In some cases, maybe there is plenty of incentive for a truck owner truly committed to the company he or she works for, plenty profitable, and all the rest. The extent to which any owner-operator values independence, in fact, varies to a great degree, I know, though most in Overdrive's audience, I'd wager, sit on the higher side of that scale, with plenty of skin in the game, as they say. Among these, of course, small fleet owner C.G. Soza.
Soza Trucking. I've been in the trucking business pretty much all my life. I currently now have 3 trucks, tow truck. We did get the new truck. It's currently being built. It's not on the road yet, but we also got rid of one of our older trucks. We're having some major motor issues, so we kind of substitute one for the other. So we didn't grow. We kind of stayed the same.
Right.
So I've been in the car business now for the last, since 2017. That's 5 years now, a little over 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and that's pretty much it. That's what I do. I'm married, a father of 5 kids, and 2 of them are adults and doing their thing, and 2 little ones that are 3 and 4 that try to keep me young and tired most of the time.
Yeah, right. Sure. So it's you. So it's you and then 2 owner operators.
It was me and 2 owner operators. Now it's 1 owner operator and 2 company trucks, and then the tow truck.
I asked Soza then about his thinking around AB5 and just what contingency plan he may or may not have in place for his contract with that owner-operator, should the Supreme Court not take the AB5 case, allowing the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court ruling to stand, or uphold the decision with a later trial, whatever the case may be.
I mean, I guess besides going completely, rogue, you'd have to really tear into the law, find the loopholes, and try to get, to try to keep those kind of people. Because I mean, owner operators now are hard to find.
Yeah.
It's going to get even harder with fuel. It's going to get even harder with this law. And that's one of the reasons I still have a piece of equipment that's sitting. It's going to be a difficult battle, which I'm glad that they were able to put the injunction on it and kind of put a pause on it. I know a lot of companies bought out their owner operators when this all came, and then it got injunction. So there was a lot of unhappy people with that all the way around. And Todd, it goes to when's it going to end? When is it going to finally they're going to put such a hurt on the trucking industry? Whether you're owner operator or company driver, eventually it's going to come to a head somewhere. And this is just another stake that they're trying to put into our industry that just makes it tougher. How am I going to work around it exactly? Like I said, we're going to have to get in there, see if we can find some loopholes. We might have to. I mean, honestly, I might have to open up another business under another business name and dispatch them between the 2 businesses. So it's because
like
I know that's part of the problem. But of course that all costs money. It's not cheap to do that. If to get everything done right to solidify just a business name and everything else, you're talking a couple $1,000s.
Right.
In hindsight it might be cheap, but when you consider everybody has to do it because a Lyft driver or somebody got bent out of shape because of whatever have you, that's what we have to go through. So there's a few avenues that we might have to go through, because I still want to keep with my owner operator platform, and stay on that path. But as it keeps getting harder and harder, we're going to have to adjust, just like I've done through COVID and everything else. I might have to adjust and do all company drivers, but I'd really like to stay with that platform if I can. So we'll work through it one way or another. We'll work through it.
That second truck that you got, I know we talked about that last year. You have an employee that has been working with you for a long time that is sort of prepared to go behind the wheel of that truck. Is that still the case for him?
Yep. My Brett Scroggins, he's been with me for 3 years. He worked for me previous. I've known him since he was about 8 years old, so but yeah, he was still going to my older W900, which you guys saw at Joplin and everything else.
Okay. He's going to jump into that one, and you're going to the new one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to the new one. The new one's got a lot bigger sleeper, and I'm getting too old to be jumping back into that bunk. I want something I can walk back to and take my shoes off. So,
when do you expect that to have that done?
Well, it was supposed,
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. It was supposed to be done this time, but it's not done yet.
When you start doing custom stuff, it never goes the way you want it to go or as fast as you want it. But technically, I should have had it next week all done. Right now, the time paint gets done and to be roadworthy again, I am hoping for about the last week of July, so about another month.
Okay.
The new trailer that I have ordered for it's already in. So once we get the truck done, I can hook up and start rolling. So hopefully I'll be turning some miles on it there at the end of July and start getting it broke in. So
tell me a little bit about it. What is it?
I got another W900. I've always kind of, I don't want to say buck the system, but everybody, well, if you want the truck, you got to get a Peterbilt. You got to get a Peterbilt. And just like, Harley, if you want to, I'll get a Harley, and I got a Victory. So instead of getting a Peterbilt, I got a Kenworth. That's not the only reason. The other reason is being 6'2", I don't really fit in a Peterbilt. I don't know how some of these guys do it. I'm just not comfortable in it. So yeah, so I got another W900. It's the long hood with a 72-inch mid roof.
Okay.
So it doesn't have the windows on top, and it's got it kind of halfway between a flat top and the raised roof.
Right.
We're at a 309-inch wheelbase. Have the new X15, I think the new model is now,
Yeah. The Cummins,
565. Yeah, with the 13 speed behind it. So yeah, and it's the same paint scheme as my red and blue one,
Okay.
but I'm going with completely different colors. A little different look as far as the deck plate and stuff goes. I switched up some of the paint, like on the fenders and stuff like that, to make it different than my other truck. And we're doing a theme with this one. We're doing, I like to say, but I want to kind of keep that hush hush for right now. So,
Okay.
but it's going to be very much theme related with some neat kind of trick stuff that came out of my brain here one night sitting in my office. And so I'm really looking forward to having it all come together and see what it really looks like, you know. And
Cool.
that's one of the things I have all these ideas. But I don't have the equipment, nor do I have some of the knowledge to build some of the stuff. So I went to a guy who does a lot of my repairs. He does metal fabrication, and basically I handed him 3 or 4 pieces of paper. I said, "Build that for me." And so we sat down for a couple hours. We went through everything, how we thought it would fit, and you know, at that time it looked like, okay, this is going to work out, and obviously it didn't work out that way. I've had to spend many hours over there going, okay, well, if we move this or if we put this here, and you know, to get it all fit. And we got everything done. I took everything to paint about a week ago, so we're super excited. Things came out actually better than I had anticipated, which is always a good thing when you just put it on paper.
Right.
So yeah, so we're super excited. I'm super, you know, ready to get it up on the road, showing it off a little bit. You know, I'm hoping to have all the interior and everything done, and maybe, you know, I might throw my hat in there at Matt's with it in Kentucky. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed we can get that all done in time for that, and
Cool.
and go out there and go play with the big boys for a little bit and see how I fare.
Is it a 2022?
Yeah, 2022.
We won't get to see it at all at the AJ Soza Memorial Truck Show in 2 weeks.
No.
No, that is too
I
bad.
was, and that's what I was hoping for. I'd be able to unveil it there at my own truck show. You know, that would be kind of bittersweet, but you know, as you know, when you get older, you get more patience, and you realize when you start pushing stuff, it doesn't come out the way you want it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet on this one. I need to be patient, make sure it's done right. So no, unfortunately, they won't even be making an appearance there at our truck show. But you know, hey, you can't win them all.
What's the name of your mechanic shop there?
Cal Welding. He's in Hillmore. It's him and his brother, and he's got a few guys that work for him. The guy does, I mean, phenomenal work when it comes to welding and fabricating and you know, doing pretty much whatever it is you can think of, really, when it comes to metal and stuff like that. So he's done basically all the metal work from behind the cab all the way to the back. Right. So you guys will, you know, everybody will get a chance to see that, and that's 100% his work. So
that's Cal Welding, like Central California, Cal in Hillmore. I asked Soza to tell the story of his truck show, Ben, and in just its second year and getting underway the 24th at the Merced Fairgrounds, just 2 weeks from now. Regular readers probably have had a window on it already, given we told a bit of that story in Overdrive when the Soza Trucking Small Fleet was a semi-finalist in Overdrive's Small Fleet Championship last year. This year's championship entries are open, by the way. Get those in at overdriveonline.com. If you're anywhere near the vicinity of Merced, California and the surrounding region, I'm willing to bet the Soza Memorial Truck Show will be quite a time.
Super excited about the truck show. I mean, you know, last year it was a bunch of unknowns. You know, I was a little, you know, obviously I was a little stressed. We went
first year you'd ever done it then, right?
Yeah, first time I've ever done a truck show, period. First year for this one. You know, we came up to the 30 days before the show and we only had like 30 entries. Yeah, I'm like, this is gonna flop. But I'm like, you know what? If I get 50 trucks, I'll be happy. We'll break even. You know, that's a win. The last 2 weeks, you know, a bunch of registers flood in, then a bunch of people showed up the day of. we wound up having 104 registered trucks. I think there was actually 113 trucks on the grounds. So I was ecstatic, big success. We didn't have any hiccups, of course I had a few growing pains. I fixed those problems from the first year. So this year we're like 400% ahead on registrations. We're already at 80 some trucks right now. I'm fully expecting upwards of 150.
Okay.
So we're on a really good track. We have a lot of neat things we got going on. The goodie bags for the drivers, I think, are just awesome. Especially I've done different promotions. Whoever registers, at this time will get a little extra piece in their bag. The main goodie bag, we're going to have a customized water tumbler with the logo on it, the T-shirt. We had a custom bottle openers, corkscrews made with the truck show on it, the bracelets, pins, the magnets that all the trucks are going to get. So
cool. Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool goodie bag. So we're excited about that. My wife has jumped in and just did an amazing job with getting vendors. We got over 20 vendors she has secured, between lots of food, different kinds of food, coffee, slushies, anything you kind of think of, we're going to have. Right. Of course, industry people that are in the industry, and most of these people I use personally for my own truck stuff. So yeah, it's going to be cool. PDI is bringing out their big truck and display. Cool. 10-4 magazine will be out there with their big display. So on that front, there's going to be a lot to do. Saturday night, or should I say Saturday, we're having the truck rodeo, which used to be in most of the trucking, the truck shows back in the day, and it's kind of died out. So I'm trying to bring this back a little bit. Yeah. We actually got one of Sunny D Manufacturing to give us a big sponsor to help us out with the rodeo. So we have currently right now we got a lot of people entered in the hay squeeze contest, which will be held in the stadium there at the fairgrounds. That's going to be going all day on Saturday. Saturday we're also going to have the celebrity from the Mayans MC television show on Fox, by a gentleman by the name of Frankie Loyal. He's actually a friend of the family's. He actually knew my late wife and my son.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and his mother's actually was my late son's daycare, or not daycare, preschool teacher. Mm-hmm. And she's actually my preschool teacher, my two youngest ones. So we're pretty connected with them. When I mentioned it to him, he's like, dude, this is a no-brainer. I'll be more than happy to come out. Normally celebrities get paid to do those sort of things. He's like, I believe in your cause. There's nothing you have to give me. Let's donate everything we make right to the foundation. So that'll be going on Saturday starting at 6 p.m. Saturday afternoon. The band's going to start playing Saturday at 6, going to about 9-10 o'clock. The beer garden will be open in the stadium, and then the lights come on at dusk, and and we go from there. So Saturday's going to have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to keep everybody entertained. Nobody should be able to be getting bored at all whatsoever. So right. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We're happy with the way everything's coming around. So yeah, super excited with that. Sunday's going to be a little more relaxed. Of course, all the judging will be wrapped up on Saturday. So Sunday will be a lot of tallying, getting everything ready for the award show. We are actually going to have a can crushing contest for the guys who, have airbags and stuff on the front. Let's see who can crush the can the lowest. So we're going to do that Sunday to kind of give us something to do between there. And then the closing ceremonies will start at 1, all the raffle prizes, right. Neat stuff like that, the awards. So yeah, we're really excited. Everything's coming along well. We haven't had any hiccups. Cool. People have been wanting to donate. So yeah, really good. I can't, you'll see, I know you're coming out, so you get to experience some of that. So we're excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It sounds like it is going to be definitely great. And I mean, I love what you're doing there. And it's so nice to see something that is so young, kind of take off, quickly. It's yeah. We're
very fortunate with that. Yeah, we're very fortunate with that. So.
For folks that aren't aware of the foundation, I mean, I know we've certainly written about it a number of times in the past year or so, or at least touched on it. But I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are hearing this that have no idea what the AJ Soza Foundation is about. But tell us that story and what the foundation is for and how the show benefits.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's basically the reason why we're having the show. So in 2016, my wife and son were actually on the way to my son's tutoring for his dyslexia. And on the way there, they were in an auto accident, and they both passed away in the accident. This was in 2016. So took me a little bit to get me back up and going, and and as the couple years went by, I'm thinking, okay, I need to do something to keep their memory alive. I know the school that my late wife worked at and my son went to, they put benches in their memory and stuff like that, which is great, but that's not something I have done. It's not something that I have right there. So actually coming into COVID, we're like, let's try to do a truck show. We don't have anything in Northern California at that time. So I'm like, you know what, let's try to do that. Of course, COVID shot that down. So last year was the first year. And that's why we call it the Soza Memorial Truck Show. I lost my dad, it was 3 years ago, last February. And he's one of the reasons why I've gotten into trucking. He was he was my mentor when it comes to that. So unfortunately, there's a lot of memorial that we're utilizing for people that are in my life that I've lost. But it's made me stronger. It's made this happen. It's made this great success. So with the truck show coming along, all the proceeds, and I think I tell people I don't make a dime off it. A lot of times it costs me more money than what than it should, but it's for the cause of helping kids that have the same dyslexia as my son did. It's worth it to me. It's worth all the hours of doing this, and my wife helping me, and she supports me so much in that, and it's worth it all. So everything goes to now the foundation that's completely legit, all with the state of California. We're a legalized corporation, which is the AJ Dyslexia Foundation. Our nonprofit status should be done, according to the attorney, within about 30 days, which will retrofit back through this year, which is great. So we're pretty much on the right track to start helping kids this fall semester. So with that being said, we're helping kids so they don't have to travel outside the county and have to make that trip like my son had to make every week. We can get them help right here. I can bring the tutor in. We can get them evaluated and go from there. And the foundation will pay for all that. Most of the kids, especially at the school that my late wife worked at, they don't really have the means to pay for that testing. It is pretty expensive. The original evaluation's anywhere from $700 to $800, and then your tutoring lessons are about $80 a tutoring session, and you got anywhere from 20 to 30 sessions or so to get kids' brain straightened back out to correct that. So with that being said, we're excited to help kids that don't either have the means and help them right here in our county, right here in Merced City School District. And I'm been so privileged to have this success with the truck show that I could do this. And obviously we couldn't do it without my fellow drivers, and I couldn't do it with my support system, my wife especially. And so I'm really fortunate God has blessed me to be able to do that. So that's what we're doing. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's all 100% for a good cause, and nobody's ego, nobody's pocketbook, nobody's t-shirt business. It's strictly just for that.
Yep. And so all the proceeds from like the truck registrations and everything else goes directly to that. Yeah.
Everything, the truck registrations, once we pay all the bills, everything goes, what's left over all goes towards that. So the registration.
And you guys did pretty well last year, if I remember us talking about it, in terms of the amount of kind of, I think we were ballparking it when you and I were talking in terms of the number of like kids you theoretically could support with the money that you had from the truck show last year, and you were still working on getting the nonprofit set up and everything and getting it
right
together, but it was pretty substantial, if I remember correctly.
We did just right there at 19,000 after we paid all the bills. Fortunately we had money because you got to pay attorneys to do that sort of thing, so we spent a little bit of that getting it set up, but we had to get that all set up to be able to do what we wanted to do. So but for a first year truck show to almost clear out 20 grand to, I mean, I could be more happy. I mean, I was
Sure.
ecstatic with that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, in this year we got more stuff to sell. I even sell my company shirts, and then the proceeds from that goes right back into the foundation too. So basically, everything that's sold there that has Soza's name on it will be for the foundation. The ticket sales, all the donations, everything's 100% to there. So we're looking good. I would say. I mean, if we didn't exceed that 20,000 mark this year, I'd be really surprised. But I think we're going to probably, exceed that by at least 50%. So,
and if you're going to be there, reach out. It'd be great to meet you. Thanks for listening, and to Overdrive news editor Matt Cole and Soza trucking owner C.G. Soza for their time. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the ongoing support of trucker songwriter and Overdrive contributor Paul Moorhofer. The podcast is backed up further by our own Matt Cole, we heard from today, social media coordinator Holly Young, and executive editor Alex Lockey. Until next time.